Okay, I'm recording. Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Okay, we're recording.
Good.
Okay, so we've got, let's see. I know, look at you. I put on a hat. My hair is not very well today. Let's see. It looks like, so I'm just looking around and it said add a link on, put a link in one of those boxes. And so do you see that link that says the tutorials and tips?
No.
What do you see? Do you see 4 windows on yours?
I see you, me. I see the one, how to use Blab. I got it.
Now, I don't know how to get rid of that now since I did it, but
yeah, I'm worried about hitting an X on anything right now.
Oh yeah, see, and I don't even see an X on that one, so I don't know. But anyway, people can click on that, I guess, and it'll take them to the tutorial so if they have questions about Blab. Now, for other people that are out there listening, it looks like there are numbers up here. I don't really know what they mean. I think 7 people might be watching us now. If that's the case, they can ask to join us to talk with us, and we can approve them, and they'll appear up in a square with us. But
well, I see Jessica's there, said not sure what to do, but hello, I'm here. So
yeah. Right. Okay. And so if you have a question, so Jessica, can you hear us? You probably can. If you have a question, you can either ask to jump in and join us so you can talk and ask it yourself, or you can over in the message where you're typing, you can type a slash. Let's see, where's my slash? And Q. And then you type your question there. And then when it pops up, you see that it puts a little Q above it, so it lets us know that there's a question there. And over on the left side of the screen, I've got where it says, it posts the question, and then I can answer the question. And I don't really know where it put it, but anyway, why didn't it? Okay. Wait, let's do that. Oh, yay. Okay, that's gone. Okay, the little link is gone now. So, okay. All right. Well, Jessica Lilly didn't say anything yet about hearing us or anything. Okay, so Terry, what are you reading?
I went in and made notes so I would remember what I was reading.
I pulled up my Goodreads account so I can look at that.
I finished yesterday. I have to go look. Dining with the Famous and Infamous.
I saw that.
Which was, that was a book I'm reviewing for Voya. And it really is part of like a reference section in a public library. I hardly ever get books like that. And it was just, it was strange. I kind of loved it. I wrote my review today and, oh, good. We're having people say they can hear us. Yay. Anyhow, it's about famous people and infamous people and the kind of foods they preferred. And there's almost a symbiotic relationship where the food is a reflection of themselves and themselves then are a reflection of the foods. And I really liked it. But again, it's for those people that want a particular, some information about a particular topic. I think that was feedback. I'm not sure.
Oh, there, your audio's back.
There. Okay.
Yep. Well, I'm thinking about the research on that. That would be some weird, obscure research, I would think.
Yeah, and this is part of a series. It's Rowan and Littlefield, which is, you're familiar with that company.
Yeah.
And so it's part of Dining with the Greats or something. And again, I can see it as part of a public library. I can see absolute uses within classrooms. History teachers saying, go out and find information about Leonardo da Vinci's life other than his painting. And what you learn is he was a vegetarian. He was one of the early vegetarians. And then, it's everything from Da Vinci and Dali, the famous poets and artists and illustrators, to the Beatles are in there. So you get famous musicians. So, I mean, I was fascinated. So go figure.
Blows my mind.
Yeah.
that you can find that kind of information out, Leonardo da Vinci and what he liked to eat. Just incredible.
So what about you? What are you reading?
I read a picture book yesterday that I loved, and it's an upcoming picture book, and it's by the same guy that wrote The Green Bicycle, I think. The one about the little girl that wants to buy the bicycle, and then she ends up, I think we read it last year. You got an actual book of it. But it's Mark Pett, P-E-T-T.
Okay.
And it's called This Is My Book, and it's one of those metafictions to where he is talking to the readers, saying, I am the author, and this is my book. And this is, so I'm in charge of writing all of the words, and I'm also the illustrator. Well, then he said, so he draws a little panda, and this is polite panda. Well, then Panda starts being rambunctious in the background, and he's drawing, and he's like, look at these clean white pages. And meanwhile, Panda is coloring in the background and messing everything up. And he's like, wait, you can't do that. And so eventually Panda finally gets him to believe, because Panda starts adding characters and just changing his story. And he eventually realizes that the book's not just his as the author, but that it's everybody's. But he's talking to the reader the whole time. It is fantastic.
Cool.
I loved it.
Cool. I'm glad that somebody just noticed that the iPad was not being very friendly. I switched from my iPad to my iPhone about 2 minutes into this, because the iPad just was not pulling up the video. And I was beginning to think, oh, heavens. So I switched right over to the iPhone, and it's working fine. Okay. We'll play a little bit more with this and find out what the pros and cons are.
So far, it seems to be going great. I'm using it from my laptop. So,
okay. Yeah.
And I'm going to, look, I think you can click. I'm giving you props, Terry.
Oh, I love that.
All right. And so a lot of those videos, tutorial videos, I see that, and the people are just going crazy because, of course, they have a billion people watching their stuff. We're peanuts right now.
Well, there's all kinds of stuff going on too. And this will, as we continue to work, I think we'll have more people kind of join in from time to time, especially when we're going to talk about new books. This is not going to be a free for all, fast Twitter chat kind of stuff. This is just, let's chat. And eventually people will figure out how it all works. And maybe we'll actually do a video for PPPD on how to get Blab to work right.
Now, here's the thing. We can upload this video that records straight to YouTube, or we can upload YouTube. So we'll do that just to show people that we, show the Blab, since we're talking about the books.
Right.
I also read Lindsay said it's like an interactive podcast. That's very.
I saw. Yeah. I like that. Yay.
I finished a YA romance a couple of days ago too, by Tilly Cole, and she's what do you call it? An independent. Oh, hey,
Krista.
It's a. What is she? What do you call it when she's a independent author? What is it called? That's what you call them?
Indie. I don't know.
Self-published. How's that?
That works for me.
Okay, so yeah, Tilly Cole, and she's really good. I like her stuff. But this is her first YA that I've read, and it was so good. It's called 1,000 Boy Kisses, and it's about a girl who meets a boy who moves in next door to her when they're 5 years old, and it shows their friendship and how it has progressed. But they've always had a major connection ever since 5 years old and on. When she's 8, her grandmother is very sick and starts to know she's going to die, and the grandmother gives her granddaughter, this little girl Poppy, a glass jar filled with 1,000 red cutout hearts, and on the front of it said 1,000 boy kisses. And so when she meets her soulmate, she's supposed to start gathering the kisses so she can then, when she's older, look back at all the kisses she shared with the love of her life. And so she's supposed to write down the date or kiss number 1, under the tree, whatever, so you keep track of them. Well, of course, Rune, her next door neighbor, he finds out that this is what she's supposed to do, and he's like, you're not going to kiss anybody else. I will be the one that gives you all 1,000 of your kisses. And this is when they're 8, and he like gives her first kiss, and sure enough, they're in love for their whole life. But then if something really terrible happens when they're like 17, she stops contacting him because he has to move back to Norway anyway. And she drops contact. He comes back a couple of years later and he's mad at her, but then he finds out why she did that. And it's just heartbreaking. I like sobbed through almost the whole thing. It was so good. It's amazing that writers can put you so into the story that the emotions come out of you. It's crazy.
Yeah. Hey, Krista, let's see if we can hear you too.
Yeah. Okay. Can you hear me?
Yay! So
this
tell
is
us
so
about
cool.
something. Tell us about something you've been reading.
I have actually. Okay, there now I can hear better. I have been listening. I've been reading with my ears to Aristotle and Dante Discover the Secrets of the Universe, which I know is a few years ago, and I actually read the book, but I'm commuting a lot, so I decided I wanted to listen to it again. I'm so glad I did because there's so much in that book. I love the first-person narrator of Ari and the insight that I'm gaining, and the ways that it's helping me think about how my culture is, what my cultural perspective is in terms of being Mexican and being female and all of these other things. So yeah, the audiobook is amazing. It's read by Lin-Manuel Miranda.
When I listen to an audio of a book I've already read, I know what's going to happen. I mean, there are no surprises, kind of thing, and yet there's some kind of additional level of understanding that I get from it. I mean, there's just a whole new layer, as I would, I guess, if I reread it, with my eyes. But there's something about listening to it. Once I'm familiar with the story, I can kind of let myself really get deeper into it. Does that make some sense, I hope?
Yes. And I think also, and I know you've been on is it the Odyssey Award
Right.
for audiobooks? I think too, a lot of that has to do with when it's an incredibly well produced and well acted audiobook. I'm finding myself with audiobooks. Again, I'm commuting an hour and a half each way to my new job, but well, I guess it's not new anymore, but I'm finding my tolerance and my my critical listening is I don't give it as much time as I would when I'm reading. Like if the actor and the reading doesn't pull me in right away, I tend to not stick with it as long. But yeah, it definitely, and his reading of it, Miranda's reading of it is just amazing. And that is how I feel about it.
In audio, it is something that, after you start listening a lot and, you start to pick up on those critical things, like you were saying, Kristen, it is something, I was just listening to one the other day, and because I have a long commute too. And so I listen to audiobooks to and from Huntsville. And it's like at one point, from one changes from one track to the next, I had to do a stop and double take listen because that sounds like a different narrator. And it's the same narrator, but something had happened with the levels, I guess, on the different day of recording.
Oh,
that
wow.
all of a sudden there was almost a little rising level of her voice that she sounded like a different narrator for a little while.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow. And then you hear those weird, like sometimes they'll punch those letters a little bit too much, or you hear those weird sounds, and that will start grating on your nerves, and just those weird little things that somebody, I guess, that doesn't listen to audio very often might not even think about.
Yeah.
And we spent an awful lot of time in that first Odyssey committee all those years ago, talking about all these things: new recording day, plosives, sibilants. I mean, it's amazing. And once you've listened at that level, you can't listen at a lower level.
Right.
It is kind of bizarre. And so I just finished 2 weeks ago, the listening for the Audis for this year. So the finalists for the middle grade books. And, even though I loved every single one of them, I could hear production problems within them all. And that's, I wish I could go back to, just this is just fun. I'm just going to listen for fun. I can't.
Yeah.
Any more than I think you can read books that are probably going to be honored. As you're reading them, you kind of slow it down. You start that annotation. Even if it's only in your mind, you start thinking about that. So pretty interesting. I've also read this last weekend. I was just looking at some of the books that I've read recently that I haven't even had a chance to share with Karen yet. It's a new graphic novel series coming from Random House. It's called Lucy and Andy Neanderthal.
I totally saw you post about that on Facebook.
Right.
Who was that by again?
It's Jeff Brown.
That's right. I looked it up.
Who does the Star Wars Jedi Academy. And this takes you back to Neanderthal times. And what you get is part of the story of Lucy and Andy and the rest of their family. They have a baby brother. They have a pet saber-toothed cat. And then into the story at various times comes a scientific kind of narrator who says, of course, cats would not have been pets. This cat was actually much bigger. It never would have, we didn't have domesticated cats until, and it gives you the information. And at the end of each kind of episode, the scientists come back and they talk about what is real, what is factual, what we're learning, what is still a theory. And it's done seamlessly. So it's not like, okay, let's stop and have our lesson, boys and girls. But it comes back and it says, this is what we think, because that's our theory. Here's what we thought, and it has a nice timeline at the back. Here's what we thought 100 years ago. Here's what we think now. So I love that kind of seamless blend. And I was, they sent it to me so I could include it in a little revision of the graphic novel guide that I've done for them. So it was easy enough to write some things to go into that. And then they asked me to do a scavenger hunt with the book so that when they publish the book, there'll be a little, can kids find this information in the book? Can you find the information about X, and where did you find it? And it can be found in more than one spot. So, I mean, it was purposeful reading, but I still enjoyed the living daylights out of it.
That's well, and plus with those illustrations, you know, he just makes it so much. It's his illustrations are just lovely.
Yeah,
they're cute. I've started a graphic novel by Box Brown, the guy that did Under the Giant.
Yeah.
And it is on, and it cracks me up that this isn't a graphic novel, but it's on the creation of the game Tetris.
Ooh.
Which I love Tetris.
Okay, we need to tell Hannah about this right away.
True. So so it talks about the Russian inventors of the game and how it all came to be. So very, very interesting.
I love that they use that it's a graphic novel format.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
To talk about something that's all about visuals.
Now it hasn't come out yet. Are you on NetGalley at all? If you know about NetGalley?
Yes, I'm on.
It's on NetGalley. So go and ask for it to be approved. So you can download it and read it. I think it's first, second. So
sounds about right.
So so get it from NetGalley. So so just crazy, you can do a graphic novel about anything, even the game Tetris. But like you said, something that's totally a visual thing. But yet there's a whole graphic novel on the history of creation of that game. Which, man, I loved that game.
I got an email from Ann McLeod, the Allen newsletter editor, saying, could you, and it went out to everybody, Allen kind of thing, could you send a couple 2-sentence reviews of books? And now that I'm no longer executive director, I actually have time. And so I started pulling a couple together, and they all ended up being about wolves and foxes, which was just really bizarre, that you see that trend. So I sent her the Maybe a Fox, the new Kathy Appelt with Allison McGee, Wolf Hollow, which I read on the flight back from California. There were two more. Pax, yes. Pax was one of them. And then there was actually a fourth one. I mean, it's just, they seem to come in droves.
There's a picture book about the little wolf camp.
And I could have included that, but I didn't in this case. So that, I mean, that was kind of fun to go. You have to have that aha moment where I read those books kind of far apart from one another. But when I started thinking about what have I read recently that I can, send on to Anne, I thought, well, I've read those books, and oh my goodness, they're all about wild animals and our relationship with wild animals, in a realistic kind of sense, even though there's that magical realism throughout, I think, quite a few of them. The other one I read was My Miserable Life. It's a new middle grade novel. Karen, you'll remember when I pulled it out of the stack. It's by F.L. Block.
That's right.
And it is Francesca Leah Block, who's using the initials so that she can write for a different audience. And this is, it's a classic middle grade. It's a whole lot of fun, a little bit grown up kind of Diary of a Wimpy Kid, for lack of a better way to put it. But I love it. On the back it says F.L. Block has written award-winning books for older readers or something like that. And I thought, who else could that be but Francesca? And so I'm fascinated to see that she's gone, kind of in a different kind of situation there. So that was kind of fun. And that took no time at all to read, of course.
What was the title of that one again?
It's called My Miserable Life. And, it's perfect for those kids that love Diary of a Wimpy Kid.
Definitely a different direction than Wheatie Bat.
Yeah, definitely a different one. And I love all those books. Absolutely adore them. But when I see an author kind of flexing muscles like this, and we have several who do that, it's just like, wow.
Well, and that's kind of like, right. And how I was talking about the other day in your office, because you received the book Lady Midnight by Cassandra Clare, which I love Cassandra Clare. And I love that series. I love that series. But there again, I do love it when authors are publish a variety of types of stories.
Right.
And so Cassandra Clare has been in her Mortal Instruments, Infernal Devices world, right. Shadowhunters world, the whole time. And so whereas like Francesca Leah Block, man, what variety. And Neil Shusterman has that, and
right.
Avi has that. Avi is so versatile. There are many authors that are out there that write such wide variety that just really kind of shows such talent, that they can put themselves in so many types of stories.
Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong with finding your no and sticking with that. I mean, I still love Chris Crutcher, always will. I know exactly, I shouldn't say exactly, I know the kind of story I'm going to get, and I'm totally happy with that. But every once in a while, even they kind of surprise you, like Lubar's Character Driven. Just right. As soon as you think you've figured out David Lubar, that he writes the Looneyverse books, and then he has the zombie books, and he has these books. The Weenie books, and then he's got the freshman and the sophomore.
Yeah.
And then he writes something like Character Driven that is so above and beyond what he's done before, and yet has traces of his hallmark sense of humor, all that good stuff through it. But it's so different, and what I'm adoring is seeing him get the great reviews, because he took. I mean, that's a heck of a risk to write outside your comfort zone, let alone reading outside your comfort zone.
Didn't he put on Facebook just the other day? Wasn't it John Green that talked up his book the other day? Yeah. Oh, he was thrilled.
Speaking of John Green, he's doing a series of crash courses about literature. In the next week to several weeks. I caught the first one. It'll be up on the blog, but it's already been posted to Facebook because that's where I found it. And the first one is about why we read, kind of like why we need to pick up books and read, and how that feeds us. And then my understanding is it's going to be kind of a book club. They're going to read Romeo and Juliet. It's a bunch of classics, which kind of disappointed me just that much, because I'd like to say could we fit in a few contemporary, but it was Romeo and Juliet, and I think Salinger was in there. Anyhow, it looks to be fascinating, so I'm going to try to kind of follow that a little and see what goes on with that.
For those of you that are out there watching, you can jump in just like Kristen did. She had, I don't know if you can see in the live chat, she had to go pick up her eldest son or her eldest child. So she had to drop out of the conversation. But you guys can do the same thing that she just did. Jump in and talk with us.
Otherwise, it's just me and Karen talking about what we read. And quite frankly, we're okay with that.
That's true. Oh, yeah, Lindsay's calling in.
Yay.
Okay, good.
There she is.
Hi.
Yay. Hi, Lindsay.
Hi, guys. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, hear you
Excellent.
just fine.
Okay.
I guess there are some genres that I don't read very much of, or they're not the ones I gravitate toward, and historical fiction is one of those. But I did just recently, within the last couple of weeks, finish listening to A Night Divided by Jennifer Nielsen, which was the Berlin Wall.
Right.
And it was amazing. Middle grade, of course, or elementary schools could have it, of course, but it was fascinating. And it really was one of those historical fiction novels that, well, they all do that, really. Because when I read Deborah Hopkinson's The Great Trouble, which was the cholera, it always makes me go out and then watch or read more about that time. Mm-hmm. Like this, I watched documentaries about the Berlin Wall. And with The Great Trouble, I read about the actual doctor that discovered finally what caused cholera. And historical fiction does that to me. So I don't know why I don't listen to it or read it more, because I always thoroughly enjoy it once I'm in it. But yeah, so that's like outside my norm just recently with that one. So
yeah, I heard her talk about that one at NCTE, and I have the book and I will read it. It's just things get shuffled in that to be read stack constantly.
I know.
So we'll see what happens. Hey, Lindsay, what are you reading that you like?
I actually picked up Fallout, which is the follow-up to The Compound. I hadn't read it. It'd been on my to be read pile forever, and I just forgot I even had it. And I've been playing around with the, I forget what it's called. I think it's called First Book. Mm-hmm. I'm looking at my cell phone, because I'm trying to find good books on that app. It's Open eBooks, the one through First Book, because I got codes for everybody in my school, and the kids are asking me for recommendations on there, and I had to go through and find what was on there, and I was reminded, oh yeah, Fallout came out, so I'm reading that on there, and it picked up pretty much where the last one left off, and I'm impressed. And I like, if you've read it, there's the twin boys, and one was in the compound and the other one was not, and I like the dual perspectives of the one who was in the compound being very angry and the other one just not having the same perspective. So I like being able to see that there.
So in that sequel then, Fallout, which I haven't read now, I've got it.
No spoilers.
Read it. I haven't read it yet. Well, I'm okay with spoilers. I'll read it anyway. But so you do get to see, then you say, both perspectives.
Yes.
Boy, so it's dual perspective?
Yes.
Well, that's cool, because can you imagine? I guess the reason I haven't read it is because I so really enjoy the survival aspect, stuck in that compound aspect of the first one, that I didn't know how I would like the more, because they're in the real world. He knows the world didn't end, and what are they trying to catch the dad now, I guess? Or
well, it begins with they think the dad's dead.
Okay.
With the explosion, and they're trying to get control of the company from Phil, who was dad's accomplice. And you get to find out what happened to all the babies, the supplements.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so that's an interesting take.
It is such a good book. I loved Compound.
I'm starting to remember some of it now, and it's like, oh gosh.
I know. It was incredibly creepy.
Definitely creepy. Definitely creepy.
So far it's good. I'm enjoying it. I've been on a Harry Dresden kick because Jim Butcher's coming to town for Comic Palooza. And if I volunteer for Comic Palooza, and if I end up being his handler, I need to know about all of these books that I was not alive for. So, so I've been working my way through those. You
weren't alive for all the Harry Dresden books?
Not many of them.
Lindsay, don't make me feel so old.
That's okay. I'm still older than all of you probably combined, so it's all right.
Oh, I love Harry Dresden.
It's fantastic.
Jim Butcher's other series, though.
I've read nothing else by him. I've just been trying to catch up with Harry Dresden because I heard that he likes to dress up as Harry at any of the conventions he goes to. So I would like to interact.
For me, Harry Dresden is James Marsden.
Yeah.
James Marsden. That's who Harry Dresden is for me. So
I tried to watch the TV series. It was not the same.
Okay, so Dr. Perry, the one thing we haven't done yet is Comic-Con, and we just really need to.
I know.
We need to
you
put
have
it on
to
our
come for the authors. It's important.
Yeah, we just need to. That's all. We just need to do it. That's all.
So, Lindsay, the one you're going to is called what?
Comicpalooza. I recommend going to both, though. Right now, there's a whole lot of controversy, and I'm not supposed to have a comment or opinion, but I recommend going to both. There's Space City Comic Con, and then there's also Comicpalooza, and both of them have great authors that they invite all the time. Last year, they both had Jonathan Mayberry, who is my idol and author crush.
Love him, yes.
Yeah, and he was there for both.
Where is Comicpalooza at?
It's in Houston. That one's at the Energies? No, that's Space City. George R. Brown.
George R. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Carrie, that is totally doable for us.
We just absolutely need to do it. That's all there is to it. Of course, saying that, we're involved in 14 million little things right now.
Space City is over Memorial Day weekend, and Comicpalooza is in June.
Okay, well, June may be doable. Just depends on when in June because of ALA and
yeah, that's true.
It's the week before ALA.
Oh, good, because I'm trying not to look ahead at my calendar. April is scary.
Yeah.
Karen and for me, we have 3 commitments in a row, so it's like I hope that we'll still be upright at the end of it.
I know. I've already told my husband, it's like, April, I might be home a couple days.
I told mine he could come downtown and stay with me one night at TLA because he wants to. There's an art car exhibit at the Museum of Fine Arts. So I said, Art Deco cars. And I said, well, come spend the night. Oh, here comes Scout. He's going to, if you see the whiskers.
Oh, is he up there? Is that what that was?
His nose and whiskers.
I thought it was some kind of light reflection, but no, it was.
Now he finally came in to say, Mom, I get fed at 8 o'clock. And I just want you to understand that it's almost that time. So you may see him occasionally entering to the pictures here. He's just sitting waiting right now. He was with his dad, and then Dad got up to move. And let's see, what is it, Scout?
Oh, there's a tail.
Yep. Come here. Come on. It's about 10, 15 minutes before we usually lock him up. So he's got an internal body clock going on there. But that's okay. He does this all the time. Whenever I have things that are online, he always wants to join in and make sure everybody knows he's here too. So Karen and I read some wonderful picture books, and we have a nice picture book talk video we did, but I'd be remiss if we didn't mention Tell Me a Tattoo Story, which we are just absolutely loving, because is there another children's book about a dad with tattoos? And I can't really think of any, quite frankly.
No, I can't.
And I just love how that's handled. Walter Mays commented when I posted about it. He said, and the dad is a good-looking dad. He's in love with his wife. You can see that romance. All those kind of things that you don't really see in a book for kids. And I kind of like that. That was a really unusual. It's also one of the few books I begged a publisher for, because it was from a publisher who'd been sending me tons of wonderful books. And I said, but the one I really want to see. And bless her heart, she was nice enough to send it to me, so that we've all enjoyed it now in the department too. And then last week we read and made our faculty cry with Ida Always, about the 2 polar bears at the Central Park Zoo, and Mike Gardner. And it's always, there's something gratifying about handing a book to a colleague that has affected you deeply, and then watching that colleague respond with that same kind of deep emotional reaction. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes I think, well, it's just me, but person after person after person picked those 2 books up, and they were grabbing Kleenex and wiping away tears. And it's like, yes, it's not just me being, menopausal kind of thing. It truly does kind of resonate with a lot of people.
and then the same goes for humor.
Yeah.
So the couple of the funny ones that we've loved recently and shared. I'm trying to find the name of the one. You'll remember it probably.
Baba Bad Sheep.
That's it. Baba Bad Sheep. I was thinking that was it, but I didn't want to say it wrong. So Baba Bad Sheep was great, but then also so was Dylan the Villain.
Yeah.
And let's see, what was the other one? Oh, not funny, but touching. Raybot. I really enjoyed Raybot.
Yeah.
That search for a friend and a dog story. So, it was a happy dog story, not one that you cry about. So
yeah, we try not to do sad dog stories too often, although Pax is killing it.
That's why I haven't been able to start Pax. I'm
reading it a little bit at a time and just stealing myself, because I know that there's got to be more sorrow to come. And I posted at some point, I can't even remember where, that there's a new category of books we need to create called books you should never read on an airplane. Those books that make you sob. And I'm thinking, maybe A Fox was one of those that I read that on the flight up to California. And as we're getting ready to land, I was just finishing it up and I turned to my husband and I tried to tell him how wonderful it was. And I was just trying to choke back sobs, because people on airplanes really get nervous when you cry. And the same thing was true then on the flight back. I was reading Wolf Hollow, and it was the same kind of, you get to that end and it's such a gut wrenching, so realistic, so touching. And you just know, and you're just like, let me keep it together. We can get off the plane. I can get in my car. I can cry. That's fine. But I can't cry on the plane. I'm going to have to start carrying funnier books on the plane is all.
But the same can go for humor. I've had to laugh out loud on the plane before too. And then you're kind of worried because everybody else around you is kind of going, who are you? What's going on over there? Because, you're cackling and you can't help it. Or I've been very frustrated. And I've had to close my book and stop. And people just don't get that. Sometimes you just have emotional reactions to your stories.
And yet I see them plugged in watching a movie and talking back to it.
That's true.
So it's, to me, that's the same kind of reaction, that kind of interpretive. I get involved in it. I become part of the story. It's the same thing. So Lindsay, does that happen to you? That kind of emotional gut kind of stuff going on?
Often, and I don't hide it very well, and my face is very, very reactive. So when I'm reading in class with the kids and stuff, because we'll have silent reading because it's just mandatory, and I'll start laughing, and then they'll want to know what I'm reading, and then it goes crazy from there. But yeah,
that's great.
And then I have kids reacting, and I'll have kids walk out of some of their classes based on some of the books, and they'll come into my class and say, "Hey, you didn't tell me this was going to happen." I'm like, that doesn't mean you get to walk out of class.
So Lindsay, is there a book? Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was giving her props because I loved it. Yeah. So
Lindsay, is there a book that's coming out that you're really excited for? Is there anything on the horizon that you're really waiting?
It's a Jonathan Mayberry book, and I'll be honest, I'm excited because I'm a character in it. So
Yay!
Yeah.
What's the character? Is it just your name, or is it like a teacher?
No, it's me. I don't know what he's done with me as a character, but it's me. There was a contest where you got to dress up as you had to make up your own character, or you could be a Rotten Ruin character, and
it was your book costume.
It was my book armor. Yeah,
that so deserved the win. That was incredible.
I almost wore it to graduation. I almost did.
It is an incredible costume.
But so I won that one, and then after I was his handler at Comic Palooza last year, he said that I was just his best henchman, and he owed me one. So he said that he would put me in a book, and so yeah. So it's in April.
Which one's that called?
It's going to be the bridge
one. No,
it's the bridge between Fall of Night, Dead of Night, and the Rotten Ruin series.
Okay, so is it for YA?
I'd give it to YA, but not really.
So it is okay. So
I don't censor much when I give things to kids. If
right.
I know that their parents aren't going to rip my head off, they can have it.
Okay, but still. So yeah, okay, it bridges the two. Right, because Joe Ledger, he makes that quick appearance in the last Rotten Ruin book.
Yeah, and then there's the Bits and Pieces book 5 of the Rotten Ruin series, where Joe Ledger is also in there quite a bit too.
Okay, cool.
And if you haven't read that one, you have to. Hero Town is the greatest short story in there.
Okay, I've got it on my shelf.
I probably do too. It's just, but that's why we want to share books with other people. It's how we find out about other books we should be reading. I mean, we troll social media, but there are other places too. And certainly hearing from other readers is a really good way to do that kind of thing. So I'm always looking for, what do I need to move off the shelf and into the stack? And then what needs to move up the stack? And I know when I packed to go to California, I showed everybody them spread on the bed. A couple people Facebooked and other things sent me messages and said, move this one up. Move this one up. And of course, Wolf Hollow was one of them. And I said, I've got to read. I had a required book list review book to read first. And then I just decided I was going to save Wolf Hollow because I wanted to read it in one sitting. And the way to do that is to read it when you're at the airport and you get on the flight. That's just the perfect way to get that amount of time free. So it worked out, except for the ugly cry wanting to happen, and I couldn't do it, but that's okay.
I'm looking forward to The Winter's Kiss. It's the third book in a series, so I am anxious for that one. I want to see the second Six of Crows book. That's Crooked Kingdom, but I think it's still a ways away. But there again, and so Lindsay, I know since you love the Rotten Ruin series so much, I know that you like series and the Harry Dresden series, but sometimes series can be draining because you have to wait so long. But I do like standalone books. I like it when you can come to the end of the story and know that you've had your resolution.
I haven't read Challenger Deep. That's one of the ones on my list that's not a series book because it's won so many awards. It's got to be good. Mm-hmm. That one's on my list. And I didn't think Orphan Army was going to be a series book, but it's also on my list because it's one of the ones that has been winning a lot of book contests lately.
Oh, good. Well, I'm looking forward to The Best Man, Richard Peck's forthcoming book. It's been a while since he's worked in realistic fiction. Yep. He did the Little Mouse books for a while, Secrets at Sea, those kind of things. He did the Grandma Dowdle historical fiction books.
Mouse with a question mark tail.
Yeah, coming back to write this now, and of course he wrote a little piece for the Nerdy Book Club about it. So I'm really looking forward. I hope that that's an arc that I get, or that I find somebody who has it so I can say, please, 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 because I absolutely adore that man. He's one that we've been talking and writing about a lot lately because a lot of people don't know his early stuff. Yeah. Because he goes back to the 70s. And he was one of those early writers of young adult literature, writing about, acquaintance rape, date rape, before we had a name for it, and writing about dealing with loss in your family, all those wonderful universal kinds of stories that lots of people wrote about. Peck wrote about them early on. Same with Emmy Kerr. Some of those folks that I think sometimes we tend to forget that they wrote some fabulous books that stand the test of time, I think, pretty well. Not all of them do, but those do.
So like when we were just working on that article, when we put that bibliography together, that Are You in the House Alone? Are you in the house alone? Or maybe there was the other one. The what's the other one?
Father figure.
Yeah, like one of those was from 1967.
Right.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, we still go back and look at The Outsiders by Hinton, and I think part of that is because she was a teenager when she wrote it. All that good stuff like that. But there are lots of those older books now that are classics of young adult literature that we need to go back and kind of take a look at again. Connie Zitlow wrote about some of them, did an edited collection called Lost Masterworks of Young Adult Literature. But it's been a long time since that even was published. So I'm hoping our article will go somewhere so that people can see some of the folks that we want to remind people of. You know, before they were famous today, they were famous for other books in the past.
Right.
Yeah.
The Outsiders is still very popular in my school.
Oh,
The
yeah.
kids kind of make a face when we give it to them to read because it's a required read for 8th grade at our school. But by the time they finish it, they all love it and they can't quit talking about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's one of those, I mean, there you go. There's 1960s right there. And yet it still transcends things so much. And
It was
who can
all
argue?
of those. You know, I loved all of those, you know, Rumblefish and
Oh yeah, I read them all.
What Was
Yeah.
Then This Is Now, you know, and so you just can shoot right through those S.E. Hinton ones that all came out about around, you know, that time.
Yeah.
I love those. I don't, you know a lot about these, but that the new Neil Shusterman, The Scythe.
That one looks interesting.
Oh man, and the cover is fantastic. I love it. So I can't wait for that. And then Still Life with Tornado, Amy King. That one's I can't wait for that one. And then I really want to read Peter Brown's The Wild Robot.
The Wild Robot.
Yeah, his first like novel rather than picture book. I think that will be well, I've seen people say good things about it.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to that one.
I'm thinking there's going to be a little Amazon deficit coming up pretty soon. I'm going to have to order some books that, you know, I get tons of books, but I still order a whole bunch of them because I want to read this one. I want to read this one. And
right.
I'm really bad at delaying gratification. So,
well, and why do with Kindle? It's so easy now, you know, you just think I got it. You know, I can read it right away.
Yeah. I'm trying to remember. I downloaded something the other day because I thought I really want to take a look at this. And the one that I'm getting ready to download, even though, is the David Denby's book where he went to 3 different classrooms in New York and talked about what excellent English teachers do to get kids involved in classic literature.
I just saw that. And so I posted that on Facebook and said, you know what? It irritates me about, like I said, I haven't read this book, but how it says that he used a term in there that I didn't like meaningful
Right.
or important reading,
Right.
serious reading, maybe it was serious reading, and it was only those classics listed. So that kind of irritated me. Hey, there's Henry.
There's Henry and Scout. Good night, sweet boy.
Put the cat away.
He's here. You can hold him in front of the camera.
Yeah.
Scout gets a little. There we go.
Aw.
The kitty.
Hi,
Good
Henry.
spot. Good night, sweet
See y'all
boy.
later.
Good night, sweet boy. Yeah, he gets impatient after a while, and what he does is he goes in and he starts hitting Henry in the face, saying, "Feed me, feed me." He does not do that with me.
Aw.
But if I'm not paying attention to him, he starts picking on Henry, and then he gets his way. It works really well.
And that's also a thing for him. He gets walked around the house before bedtime, right?
That's right.
I love that.
Yes, he does. He has to have a tour. The Denby book, I blogged about it, and I think the blog's live now, because I said what I wish people would read instead of Denby, who spent, a couple weeks in different classrooms and then said, here are 24 books that these kids all read and everybody should read. And I know they're all going to be dead, canonical kind of texts. I wanted him instead to read Stacy Creel's latest piece of research, which I also posted a link to, where she went and looked at how independent reading is killing the love of reading in teens. And she went in and she looked at the studies that are out there, did kind of a meta-analysis, and talked about the factors that aren't present but should be, and choice, of course, was like number one. So it's always nice, and that appeared in library literature, which means there are a lot of teachers who didn't see that,
That's it.
And so I want people to see, here's Denby on the bestseller list. He's in the New York Times. He's in, I think the Washington Post, getting all these wonderful reviews. Look at him, how wonderful. And I want to say, yeah, but look at what the research actually says. And Denby's not really in line with that kind of research. But he's the guy that thinks, that the canonical texts are the bee's knees. And that's fine. I just don't have to subscribe to that kind of theory. So other books, I think I've mentioned almost all of the ones that I've read. I'm looking.
Let's see.
The Gary Paulson Fishbone's Song, which I read it was basically a bound manuscript. I think ARC should be available soon, and I think it's going to be on NetGalley pretty soon too.
Oh, it's on Edelweiss.
Is it on Edelweiss? Good.
I believe so.
Because it's just, Paulson's another one that amazes me. He could sit back at this point in his career and write those funny Harrison Me kind of books, but he's really pushing himself. And Fishbone's Song is really a different kind of voice than the one we're used to. It's much more kind of this narrative stream of consciousness kind of thing that he's not really done before. So I love that he does stuff like that. I loved Hilo, Saving the Whole Wide World, which is the sequel to that first graphic novel by Judd Winnick. I'm glad that there's going to be a new series. And the second one I thought was hysterical because usually in these books, like the Captain Underpants and all those books, none of the adults ever know what's going on. The rest of the community is kind of in a fog. In this second book, everybody finds out what's going on. And so it's a matter of how do you control hysteria and how do you enlist all those people to help you? I kind of like that. I thought that was a different take on things. So I like that a whole lot. And
I recently read it was a picture book, and it was a biography of Louis Braille.
Ooh.
And it's called Six Dots, a story of young Louis Braille. And it was by Jen Bryant, is the author, illustrator. And it was very good. But Jen Bryant, what has she's done off the top of my head?
Isn't Balloons on Broadway? No, that's Melissa Sweet.
That's Melissa Sweet, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'll come up with it. But you're right, she's done other books.
I'm coming up. Let's see. What else?
You're on front of the computer. You can pull it up.
Actually, I guess not. Nothing that I recognize. I don't know why. Oh well. Okay, no big deal then.
Did you know that the Cybert medal has Braille on it? The actual sticker.
Not.
I was with Allison Beecher a couple weeks ago in Pasadena, talking to a bunch of people in her schools. And we were talking about the Cybert winners, and she said the Cybert award has Braille. So underneath where it says Cybert medal, you can read it in Braille. I never knew that. I mean, things that you learn just kind of out of the blue. So I thought that's like totally cool.
You know, and he developed that system when he was like 15.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Yeah.
So just cool.
Well, lots of things to look forward to, which means that when we do this again, maybe next month, we'll have even more books to talk about.
And if you can get your hands on a copy of an arc of Scary Out There, it's going to be an anthology filled with horror stories by the American Horror Association for YA. It's got Heather Brewer, Ellen Hopkins, Charlie Hickson. Yes,
love him.
It's supposed to be really good, but
Scary Out There.
Scary Out There. It's due out August 30th in hardcover.
Oh, and Jonathan is the
he's
the
editor
or pulled it together.
He's the one who pulled it together.
Made a note.
Yeah, but just the lineup of people. Oh my God!
I added it to my Goodreads. So
speaking of great story collections, Monster Boys and Slasher Girls, is that what it is?
It might be the opposite
or Monster
way.
Girls and Slasher Boys.
Something like that.
I love those stories. That's another really talk about great read alouds, really gross. And I listened to part of that too. So that was kind of fun too.
Sounds good.
Well, Karen, thanks for setting this up.
I think my computer unplugged. I think it went well, Terry.
I do too. I'm happy that Lindsay joined us and Krista, and maybe next time we'll get some other brave people. I'm without makeup. I'm in my jammies.
Oh yeah, no makeup for me either.
That's right. You don't have to be glamorous to do this. You got to see Scout. You never know what's going to happen.
Bring your kitties.
Okay, well, we're going to sign off, and this recorded, so we're going to load it to our YouTube channel for other people to watch, and then we'll be thinking about what we want to talk about next time.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks, Terry. I'll see you Tuesday.
You bet. Bye-bye.
Bye.